Hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing about the features of attitudes. We have the four most significant features of attitudes, starting with the valence, then we have the extremeness, we have the simplicity or the complexity, and the last one is the centrality. So to begin with, we have the valence, which is all about positivity or negativity pertaining to one's attitude. Whether an attitude is negative or whether an attitude is positive, that's what valence is all about. If we talk about any concept, we talk about any idea, we talk about any topic, any event, or any situation, let's just take example of a 5 point rating scale. So we know that 5 point rating scale does have these 5 pointers on it, starting from point 1 to point 5. So let's have point 1, which denotes very bad. Then we have point 2, which is bad. 3, of course, on a 5 point rating scale denotes neutral, 4 denotes good, and 5 denotes very good. So if, for instance, you do have, your outlook or your viewpoint towards any idea, let's say it's a kind of a positive outlook that you have, or you have a positive viewpoint, or you have a positive attitude towards an idea, definitely you will rate it as either 4 or 5, which actually means yes, you do have a positive attitude towards it, right? Which means that you do like the idea, whichever idea that probably could be the topic of discussion or anything that's striking your mind. And when we talk about, of course, the rating, that's 1 or 2, which means either it could be something very bad, that's point 1, and 2 could be that it's kind of bad, which actually denotes that your attitude towards that particular idea is absolutely negative. You do not like that idea, you absolutely dislike it. And when we talk about, of course, neutral attitudes, it's something like where, of course, your attitude, it's neither negative, it's nor positive, it's somewhere balanced. So that would mean that you would give it a 3 rating, 3. So 3 here denotes neutral. Your attitude towards that idea, that concept is absolutely neutral. You're balanced about it. You're not too much fond of it. You don't even dislike it that much. So there's no extreme liking or disliking towards it. You're absolutely, a balanced neutral about it. Coming to extremeness is all about, how much your attitude is negative, how much is it positive. So extremeness is all about how much, the extent. It talks about clearly the extent of being absolutely negative towards that idea or being absolutely positive towards the idea. So when we talk about extremeness, again going back to the 5 point rating scale, very clearly, point 1 and 5 are the most extreme pointers on the scale. Point 1 actually denotes, of course, you're very bad, and point 5 denotes very good, you know. So you will either have a very extreme positive attitude, or you will have an extremely negative attitude. So that's what extremeness is all about. It's all about how much is your attitude negative or how much is it positive. And when we talk about, of course, 2 and 4, that makes it a little less extreme. And neutral, of course, probably is the lowest on extremeness, because it's right in the center, and we really cannot call it an extreme attitude, because it's quite a lot, in a way, balancing our attitude from deviating towards the extreme positive or negative. So of course the neutral attitudes, they do not really fall in the extremeness, but yeah, the extreme pointers are, of course, as per the rating scale, point 1 and 5, and we do have that kind of attitudes as well. We do feel that. Then coming to, of course, the simplicity or the complexity, which is the third pointer. Complexity also means multiplexity, you know. And this is basically like how when you have a broader attitude, and within the broader attitude you have many other attitudes contained. So of course, it's like having one attitude, one or two, and then versus many attitudes. That's what this point actually means. So for instance, if we just take example of a family, so within a family we have so many members, especially when we talk about joint families, big families, we do have so many people staying in one house. And which makes it like how that everyone's going to have their own view, everyone's going to have their own outlook, which means they're going to have their own attitude. So within a family itself you can have several attitudes, which pertains to each family member. So basically what happens is, when we talk about like simple attitudes, it's like, where simplicity is all about whether you just have one or maybe very few attitudes. There are not too many attitudes or viewpoints or outlooks clashing. And complex would mean where within one attitude there are so many other attitudes contained. So that's what it is all about. And if we just take example of something that's recently coming up, and it's quite in fashion, and it's probably become a lifestyle for many people, that would be of course, health and well-being. So people would have, within a family itself, people would have multiple viewpoints, people would have multiple outlooks, multiple attitudes. Some would say, that they would actually come up with a concept of physical and mental health. Some would come up with on concepts on happiness and well-being. So some would come up with, pertaining to beliefs as to how one can really become happy and achieve a healthy life. So people will have their own attitudes, within a bigger attitude, within a broader attitude they would have multiple attitudes. And but when we talk about, just when we are especially considering a person, are we talking about one particular person only? Generally, what happens is people might not have too many outlooks, yeah, and they would just have very few. So that makes it simpler. But when you do have bigger topics, heavier topics, you have. Then probably people do come up with multiple attitudes that time. They have their own viewpoints, they have their own outlooks. And so of course, we all know that this is how generally also we do come across situations, and it's something that's very commonly also happening. And then coming to the last one, which is talking about the centrality. From the word itself, it's very clear that centrality is all about, like how much is put that one particular attitude being centered around, or it's actually becoming the core center, and it's actually influencing all the other attitudes. So that one particular attitude, how is actually that one particular attitude influencing the all the other attitudes around it. So if it becomes the core center, if everything is being centered around that one attitude, definitely it's going to dominate. Definitely that attitude is going to take over and is going to influence all other attitudes as well. So of course, when we talk about all other attitudes will be sidelined. Of course, all other attitudes will be non-central attitudes, because this one particular attitude has become very dominant, has become, the center, the core center, and has been able to really take over all other attitudes. And for instance, if we talk about, let's say, education, if somebody's got a positive attitude towards education, a positive outlook towards education, so especially like when people have this positive attitude towards education, then definitely uh, you do have the other attitudes also experiencing the influence of this one particular core or central attitude. So we do feel that how then your attitude towards knowledge will start becoming positive, even towards work it will start becoming positive, because that one attitude towards a particular topic, towards a particular idea, will influence all other attitudes, so it'll actually become the core center. It'll actually become a very centralized attitude, a very dominant attitude, and definitely then it'll be able to influence all other attitudes within the multiple attitude system. So whether you have a negative attitude, even a negative attitude towards a particular topic can dominate the others, because if everything is being centered around that attitude, definitely it can take over. Even a positive attitude towards something can definitely take over all other attitudes. So this was about centrality, and this was all about, the four most significant, most important features of attitudes. Thank you so much.